I always tell people that you should be nice on the internet because you never know who's watching. Not only is karma real, but sometimes karma's a real MFer as well. It doesn't matter whether you believe in karma or you think it's garbage, it exists and it definitely believes in you. Unfortunately, most people find this out the hard way, especially on the internet. I've had way too many people of significant influence, prominence, or fame reach out to me in my DMs for me to think otherwise. A lot of the support I've received in building my position and network is because I try to add value and use the internet as a place to do good deeds. I think you should always try to make the world a better place, but if you can't do that, at least try to not mess it up any more than it already is. If you do that, people tend to take notice and want to help. You can call this the good karma of the internet. A big part of adding value and building good karma, if not the most important part, is not being an asshole. When you act like an asshole, you are ruining opportunities for yourself that you didn't even know existed. You're creating bad karma for yourself. If you don't believe this, perhaps the story I tell you in this video will change your mind. At the very least, it will get you to reconsider the cause and effect relationship between your online and offline presence. If you aren't going to go full anon as opposed to semi-anon, an important distinction we'll get to later in the video, you don't know what opportunities you're repelling or attracting to yourself with your behavior on the internet. When you create this bad karma of the internet for yourself, bad things may happen to you because you're taking value from everyone and everything around you instead of building it. With that said, let's talk about karma and how someone interacting with me on the internet learned a hard lesson about what goes around comes around. But before we do that, I have to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Morningwood. Morningwood is a powder nootropic drink that also functions as a pre-workout supplement. It's a formula designed by a former firefighter who knows what it takes to perform under pressure in intense life or death situations. I'm using it just to help me with my boxing matches. I don't have to save anyone's life, but as I train in the gym, this extra kick really helps, especially since I have to hit my conditioning sessions at 5 in the morning before my toddler son wakes up and wreaks havoc on everything and requires my full attention to keep me and my wife from going mad. It's going to be hard to find a better blend of a product that keeps you locked in. Hell, I'm about to mix some up before I go hit my gym session this morning while he's at the babysitter. And yeah, these guys are a sponsor, but I've been using this product for a few months with stellar results and I really stand by it. It kind of tastes good too. I've got more energy than when I was hooked on caffeine, and my creativity is still high on the times I don't want to hit the gym and just stay home and write instead or work on these awesome videos. If you want to try out a bottle of this, use the link in the pinned comment and the discount code ED10 for 10% off any order of any amount. Now, let's get back to this story about bad karma and destroying internet trolls. Back during COVID, I received the following email. I've cut the email address off of the name of the sender, and if you're just listening, I'll read it out. Hi, Ed. A couple of years ago, you and I had an altercation on Twitter, which I take full responsibility for. I would like to offer a heartfelt apology, as at the time I was under immense stress in my final year of studying for my degree and clearly took it out on you. As I've already been asked about this twice in both a job interview and a master's degree application that were both unceremoniously denied, I would like to ask that the copies of my correspondence with you be deleted, if you're so inclined, to prevent any further reputational damage to my future prospects. I've realized that such behavior is not beneficial to me and may only serve to destroy any respect I hope to build in the future. It is my hope that I'm able to move on from this ugly episode of my past that I am extremely ashamed of. I know that you're under no obligation to do so and might very well teach me a lesson by choosing not to. I would appreciate considering my position if that is the case. All the same, I hope you and your loved ones are safe and sound in this scary period of our lives. Now, I had no memory of this event, but he seems to be learning just how much of a bitch Carmen can be when you get on her bad side. He attached the tweets to jog my memory. For those of you who are following along and watching, those are the citation numbers that follow Twitter in the first sentence. I'll share with you the tweets in question here. I've edited them to avoid sparking the censors, but these were originally in my DMs. I took the liberty of sharing them in a screenshot for laughs. I'm the conversation in the blue. Even though he sent me a DM, you can see I don't respond negatively to him. I don't even remember how this started, but I believe he blocked me after saying something disrespectful to me. In response, I screenshot his messages to me and then wrote his handle in a tweet I shared with the public. I did this knowing that his bad manners would be met with harassment from many of my followers, to which I am known as being fairly polite and a pretty lighthearted guy. And it worked, as he continued to send me more messages. Again, I'm just flashing them on the screen with the wild words edited out to keep the YouTube boys from messing up my ad revenue. I know that the message implies 3 tweets, by the way, but the third one was a duplicate. So let's dig into some karma lessons here and answer many questions I got when I posted the original message on social media. The main one being, why didn't he just delete his account? To this guy's credit, he actually did delete his social media account after. The problem is that he didn't post the tweets. I did. You're probably wondering how the job and master's program discovered this colorful interaction, if that's the case. I was wondering that too, so I asked him in a follow-up email. Well, it turns out that his Twitter handle was the same as the URL of his website. I imagine he'd been putting that URL on his application to show off something related to work. When you Google said URL, and no, I'm not putting it here as I agreed to no longer play a role in messing up his life, the first thing that comes up is the tweet screenshots linked to my account. The lesson here is that there's no such thing as halfway anon. Either go fully ghost or be fully out in public. Even if you try to be halfway anon, any identifying details can be used to track you. Get on the wrong side of the wrong people, and you'll quickly find out just how bad karma can be and how easy it is to be doxxed. For example, you think you can get away with just putting your face on a profile and nothing else, you'd be sorely disappointed. Imagine searching or image searching and matching algorithms have come a very long way. Do you think you're safe because your social media is private and therefore only people you can allow to see it can see it? Do not underestimate the resolve of someone with a lot of time and a little creativity. This goes double for a company that likely employs someone to research people or, at the very least, give someone that job in addition to other duties, so there is a bit of financial compensation involved. You're only as anonymous as the resources and motivation of the person who wants to find you. If you're going to be anon, use different handles from your name, obviously, or anything associated with your online presence, which is not so obvious and is why this guy is having so much trouble. Make sure that your handles don't have any URL that you own, companies that you work at or worked at, the city you're from, the school you attend, or anything that could even remotely be used to identify you. And for goodness sakes, and I know I may have not said this already because I feel like it's obvious, but don't use an actual photo of yourself in the dang profile. That can easily be traced and linked back to any media company site, social site, school site, whatever. If you're going to be fully out in public, use the internet to your advantage. You want to make sure that when people Google you, stuff comes up that makes you look better, not worse. There are many ways to do this, but it basically boils down to creating good stuff. If you're using your real information and you aren't trying to work for yourself, or you're already in a position of power, you're just asking for trouble. If you do anything else, then use the internet this way. The moment you say something disparaging or someone decides to archive it, that's what's going to come up on the first page when people search for you. I have a friend who started his whole online presence simply because he got tired of when his name was looked up. The only thing that came up was the divorce that happened in his town with him and his wife or his ex-wife at the time. So it's powerful, and you have to put a lot of energy into managing yourself if you want to do anything, not just as a social reputation, but looking for jobs. You have to take this internet thing seriously. A lot of us in the millennial and older generation understand this intuitively. You Gen Zers, I think you're starting to get the message, but maybe not. And who knows what holds for Generation Alpha. The point is, your reputation is no longer confined to just the things you did and said to someone. because you likely are texting it. Everyone's got a camera now. Everyone's got a recording device. So you got to be careful. On to the next lesson about karma and the internet. Don't make bad karma for free. So fortunately, this kid realized operating on that account or anything related to it after this event was a total wash. From a follow-up message he sent me, he said, both the domain and the Twitter have since been deleted, and I've since abandoned any notions of building a personal brand. But consider this, though, for a moment. He was attached enough to the name and what he put behind it that he not only used it for his Twitter handle and website, but also referenced it in his applications for grad school and a job. I should point out here that the URL and Twitter handle in question was not his actual name. He made his life harder for no other reason than wanting to be disrespectful and talk reckless to me on the internet. Even though he deleted that Twitter account and his website, when this happened, I did some digging and found that he took both of those actions quite a while before he wrote me. That means that somehow this was still causing him problems, and I have two theories on how that's possible. The first one just feeds my ego. Look, I'm more well known than the average person. If we went by nothing else than the quantity and quality of the people who follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and here on YouTube, that would be enough to make the case. Depending on which SEO tool you use, my name receives between 1,800 and 4,500 searches on the internet per month. I even have a Wikipedia page. There's a good chance that someone who's a fan knows that he was a royal dick to me and he's now paying for it. This is highly unlikely for many reasons, but I think about the places I've been recognized because of my internet presence. If my identity got me through a TSA checkpoint faster, this is not completely out of the realm of possibilities, but is still a low possibility. The second is more likely and reiterates really the first lesson. Despite what he told me and what I've observed, his name is still attached to his handle somewhere that's important enough for an employer to look up and find when they Google him and for those screenshots to come up. Maybe it's a middle name or something. If I were vindictive, I'd just leave everything up and continue causing this kid problem. But I'm not, so I deleted the tweets, and I don't want that bad karma. But there's this thing called Wayback Machine, where anything you've ever put on the internet is periodically archived, and if it's up there, someone can go find it. But imagine if I was going to leave this stuff up on my own end without the Wayback Machine. That would mean that this kid made someone his enemy, knowing nothing about the scope of his reach or influence, all so that he could win an internet trash talking contest. That is a very poor trade-off. So, here's a secret to how I keep such a cool head with people on social media, because believe me, I get a lot of trash comments on all the platforms. It's just part of the game of being in this internet space. So for me, I recognize that the internet is a tool to connect me to money and power. I know that every enemy I make is an entire network I close myself off to in the present and one that I potentially exclude myself from in the future. It's selfish, but it produces a positive result. Because I'm out for me, I'm motivated to treat everyone around me right, even when they don't deserve it. My ruthless adherence to self-interest is responsible for building good karma on the internet. Something else worth remembering is that the best apology is one that you don't have to make. People are more forgiving when you get in front of your problems before they cause major harm. Apologies mean more when you don't have to make them. As long as you handle your personal problems before they cause a big problem for other people, you are never beyond redemption. When I shared this story on Facebook and Twitter, a few people made a point that was worth considering. This guy's only writing to me now because he can't escape the problem that his actions are causing him. He had over 2 years to reach out and apologize to me if he truly felt bad for how he acted. Instead, I only got an apology when he wanted me to delete the tweets. Some people thought I should leave them up there. Well, I'm not, and I didn't, because I think that maybe this experience has been so painful that moving forward, he will treat people with more respect. With that said, he's lucky that I'm that way. A more vindictive, spiteful person would have written back telling him to shove his apology while raising the exact point I'm making in this particular part of the video. Look, we all mess up, but you can't count on the mercy of those you offended when the consequences of your actions come home to roost. If you want people to really show leniency, take your lamentations seriously and give you a second chance, own your mistakes early, and do so without the expectation that you won't have to deal with the consequences. Remember, you never know who's watching and can ruin your life. You shouldn't make enemies for free, and people take your apology more seriously when you don't have to make it. Try to act in a way that won't require you to apologize to your future self for something stupid that you do today. While you can't predict exactly how a situation will turn out, you know if something has the potential to hurt you down the line. If you're wondering how to know, because you don't know, follow this simple metric or this simple rubric, heuristic, whatever. Act towards people in a way that brings out the best in them. It's not perfect, but it should prevent you from being an asshole. You might even make someone's day a little brighter, maybe save a life. Who knows? At the very least, you won't ever have to worry about your words coming back to keep you out of school, a job, or a relationship. That last point is related to the reasons I tell guys to never get into a street fight in this video.